Excellent. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this morning. Obviously, the topic of today's webinar is HR case management within the ServiceNow platform. So a quick introduction about myself. Roderick Guzman, as Benjamin stated, I head up our Solutions Advisory and Architecture Group within Innovyze ESN. What we're going to talk about today is we'll do a brief introduction about who we are as an organization. And really what we want to go through this morning is, I think, just to kind of make sure that we all understand our definition of what HR case management is. We'll spend a couple of slides just explaining what that is to certain people who have joined us this morning that may or may have different understanding of what HR case management should be. I'll also explain what isn't HR case management, so I'll briefly talk about that and where ServiceNow as a platform kind of becomes a complementary solution in that sense, especially with your existing HRIS systems that you may have in your organization. We'll also talk about really kind of our experience and expertise around HR case management. So we'll talk about a use case where we did a global HR deployment for 60,000 plus employees across 1,500 HR staff around financial services. And then really, the other half of the webinars, we'll talk to you guys about what we have developed. So we've taken all that experience and expertise, harnessed all that, and developed what we refer to as the Innovyze HR framework, which is currently in version 1.2, which is not just an application, but the methodology to kind of really fast-track HR case management within the ServiceNow platform. Whether if you're an existing customer or potentially new customers looking to get into the ServiceNow platform as a solution. We'll also talk about kind of the benefits and value add of the framework. So you know, what's in it for you as a customer of ServiceNow, potential customers of ServiceNow. And really at the end, what I want to go through is kind of a high-level demo. I won't go too much into the demo. We do have kind of follow-up sessions after this if you want to get into more detail in regards to the solution, but I will show you guys what it looks like, some of the key functionalities, and talk about a little bit about the roadmap of what we have planned for version 1.3 of our framework. And obviously kind of the final 5 to 10 minutes, we'll open it up for questions and we'll go from there really. Okay. So just a little bit about our organization, even Innovyze ESN. So we're a UK-based organization, over 200 people, 25 million turnover in pounds. Our relationship with ServiceNow stems literally from day one, over 5 years now. In regards to us as a consulting organization, we have over 50 consultants around the service management, ServiceNow practice, with over 30 implementation certified consultants. So we're pretty much one of the largest media resource pools at this point in time. A couple of our customers include, you know, the Credit Suisse, UBS, National Grid, Fidelity, and Bupa. We obviously resell the software itself, provide services, training, and also support for our customers within the ServiceNow platform. And we also have a dedicated ServiceNow app development factory as well within the organization, who's dedicated in developing IP, which will similar to what we're going to show you today around HR case management. Okay, so that's just a little bit about ourselves. We are a preferred services partner. Some of you haven't heard, just recently been awarded that. So that's definitely something that we are proud of to have achieved over the last couple of years as well. So, right, so let's get into it. So that's about us. So before we really get into the meat of the presentation, what I really just want to talk to you guys is just to kind of give you guys an understanding of what is our definition of HR case management. So we just make sure that we all are all of the same understanding. So to us, in regards to HR case management, it really provides HR organizations the ability to centrally manage and track employee interactions with HR. That really means recording all manner of HR requests, ranging from general inquiry, maternity leave, and all the way to grievance and disciplinary. And really, if you look at what HR case management does, is it helps HR organizations do 4 key things. One is increase employee satisfaction, kind of in summary, allowing easier access to services and information from an HR perspective. It should lower operational costs, and really this where it comes down to the whole ethos of definition of, self-reliance versus self-service. Typically within the IT world, we use self-service quite a lot, but really from an HR perspective, we really want to move into kind of self-reliance and really move away from self-service. And really what we mean by self-reliance is, we need to make sure that our employees are self-sufficient at the end of the day. It shouldn't just be a page with a single form that they go ahead and fill in. It should really be about how do we make sure that our employees become self-sufficient as possible, which at the end of the day should help us lower our operational costs. And because of that, the whole idea of this is, well, how do we then optimize service delivery? And I'll show you guys when we look at our case study is kind of looking at a service management based operating model that our customer transitioned into, which really it's about increasing your productivity and efficiency. And really at the end of the day, if you do have an HR case management solution that kind of manages end-to-end HR requests, that should allow to give you a greater visibility, allowing you to provide reporting around the performance of your HR shared services function within your organization. And really what we're starting to get into is, HR case management should allow you to transform and transition into a shared services model, especially when you're looking to reduce costs, move away from silos of information, whether you guys are using different systems to track different types of cases or you're just using Excel spreadsheets. It's really about moving into that single system of record for all your HR inquiries within your organization. So again, just trying to, this is our definition of HR case management, and I just wanted to kind of get that across before we really get into the presentation. So the opposite of this is, right, so what isn't HR case management? So this is, I suppose, something that, will exist already in your HR function and is most likely done within your existing HRIS systems or other HRIS systems, such as, labor management, organization management, such as structure analytics, compensation management, benefits, performance, recruitment and talent, and payroll and expenses. So what we're saying here is, from an HR case management perspective, what you typically do find is, you may have Workday, you may have SuccessFactors from SAP, Oracle PeopleSoft, Connexus of the world, and some other mid-tier HRIS solutions. We are not replacing any of these solutions. What we actually are finding and what we've built as a solution in the framework is that from a ServiceNow perspective, it's actually complementary to all these other solutions that you may have in your organization. So, we're not replacing labor management, we're not replacing performance management, recruitment and talent. We understand that those currently exist within your HR systems. And what we've built within the ServiceNow platform is actually complementary across all these solutions and really focuses around the HR case management business processes. Just a couple of key things before we progress with the use case is just kind of, again, elaborating the key benefits of HR case management. And really what we're trying to say here is, by enabling HR case management, it should allow your HR organization to manage end-to-end HR requests coming into your HR function. It should allow you to measure the cases that are coming in from start to finish, and based on the KPIs and metrics that we are measuring, we are then able to improve the service that we provide back to our customers. We should be able to dispatch, assign, track, and automate those cases as they come into our HR shared services function. And really, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that our employees receive consistent service from HR and in a timely manner. So again, just wanted to summarize kind of the key benefits that we're looking for when we deploy HR case management solutions. So really, just kind of moving on from that, we're now going to talk about kind of our experience and expertise, just talking about a specific use case within the financial services market. So this organization has been around, they're global. 63,000 employees with 1,500 HR staff. I know we do have a mix of audiences currently in this webinar. For people within the HR departments that have attended today, if you're looking at kind of the 63,000 employees to 1,500, that is pretty much a 50-to-1 HR to employee ratio, which is a very high ratio to be able to maintain, and really at a cost perspective, what our customers, so to kind of summarize our objectives is, well, how do we essentially deliver our HR service back to our organization without such having a high ratio, HR to employee ratio? So really what they've started to look at from a transformation perspective is, how do we move from a 50-to-1 to potentially somewhere around the 125-to-1 ratio and still be able to deliver the HR services that we provide to our business at the same level of service that we currently do so now. So really that's what we're going to talk about in regards to the transformation that they did. So in regards to before a customer actually went into the transformation as a whole, one of the key things that they kind of looked at internally is, who were their internal clients? And really the key takeaways for this slide is that from an HR perspective, we do have our customers are senior executives that really need kind of strategic perspective and advice from HR. We also have line managers in our organizations who normally would seek people management support. And really across all our employees, it's about allowing them simple and easy access to information and service. And what they found out was, before they went and did the transformation, is that they were delivering HR within the business in a fragmented manner, and it did not really allow them to operate in an efficient, especially with the current cost base from the market perspective, especially at 50-to-1, they couldn't maintain that moving forward. So something had to be done to really transform how they deliver their HR service. So really, in regards to their HR transformation goals, it's really about, well, how do they improve HR's contribution back to the business? And really the key takeaway from this slide is that second bullet point within the transformation goals. And to them, it's about delivering effective HR services that leverage best-in-class technology to achieve these 5 key business goals. One is to reduce complexity for the business in doing HR, speed up execution in regards to an HR service delivery model, improve data accuracy, reduce operational risk, and really at the end of the day, how do they improve that employee experience? So really, this is kind of the need for change and really the transformation goals that our customer had set themselves to achieve. So how did they achieve this? So one of the key things that we utilize to kind of enable this transformation is the concept of kind of an HR shared services model, but using service management as its core principle. From an IT perspective, we're very familiar to ITIL as a framework, and from an HR shared services model, well, why can't we use similar principles to kind of drive a similar operating model? So on the left-hand side, you may have your customers, which are categorized as senior executives. You have your line managers. You have your employees. And remember, from an HR perspective, we also have to be mindful of externals, candidates, and alumni as well that have worked previously within the organization. And really, this diagram kind of looks at that operating model of going from level 0 to level 3, where that level 0 is really focusing on that self-reliance capability, right? So how do we make sure that 50 to 60 to 70% of our HR cases should be resolved at that level, and as we go up the escalation path to level 3, the percentage should get lower in regards to level 1 in regards to HR advisory or HR service desk should really be resolving around somewhere between 20 to 30% of your HR cases and so on and so forth. So really, this was the operating model that our customer used, utilizing the service management principle. So then what we then did was, well, how do we enable this operating model from an HR case management perspective? So what were the key technologies that was deployed to enable them to perform this operating model? So this slide kind of just talks around kind of the overall solution of what was deployed for that particular for this customer. So we had ServiceNow in the middle, essentially managing all the HR cases, going from the top. So you have eReference and Scrivo, which is kind of their reference management and template management and document creation. So we do have to interface with those solutions. When I do the demo later in this session, I will show you a piece of IP function that we've developed within ServiceNow that's part of the framework that allows you to create documents from a case. So if you don't have these types of technologies, you can actually do that now within the ServiceNow platform. We also interface with systems like Documentum. You may have SharePoint or other document management solutions that can interface with ServiceNow. Again, we'll also show you a kind of a sneak peek of our version 1.3 of our framework, which really talks about, we'll show you a piece of functionality where we've actually enabled that functionality as well in the ServiceNow platform. So if you don't have SharePoint or if you therefore don't have Documentum, then there's no reason why you can't use ServiceNow as your electronic document repository. Some of the other key interfaces that was completed as part of the solution from a reporting perspective, business objects, from a data warehousing side of things. We also did an interface with IP telephony. This is really more from a CTI perspective. We'll show you that in the demo, how that works. So when you pick up the phone, the employees' records should come up in front of you, because it notices their contact details. We also interfaced with PeopleSoft more to extract, enrich your employee data in your ServiceNow system. That there's no reason why you can't automate certain tasks within PeopleSoft or Workday or SAP as well, as part of that integration. So really what we just wanted to show you here is this is the solution that was developed to really kind of enable that operating model. So what we then did really is, based on this experience and expertise that we've gathered, and from a customer transformation, because it was a global deployment, customer took 18 months to transition all 5 regions across using ServiceNow from an HR case management solution, using 10+ languages, which was enabled as part of the solution set as well. So what we then did was well, let's take that and how do we provide a framework that our existing customers or existing ServiceNow customers and potential new ServiceNow customers can deploy HR case management within the ServiceNow platform. So what we actually developed is what we refer to as the Innovize HR framework. And we'll go through some of these HR sub-processes, but what we've essentially done is we've developed a fast-track methodology and an application that allows HR organizations to deploy all these specific functionality. So that ranges from employee self-reliance. So if you guys want to publish employee kind of end user experience HR service portal for your employees to submit and view all their HR requests. And that includes concepts such as social HR. So, why can't we use a chat functionality so that we allow our employees to chat with our HR service desk, right? So again, that's all web-based driven as well. Concepts of what we refer to as an HR feed, which is really kind of enabling social media, so providing a different way to access HR services. So as you guys probably know that a lot of our employees in our organizations are using the likes of Twitter and Facebook in regards to their personal space, but when they come into the corporate world, they do expect to kind of I suppose, interact with a lot of the services that we provide to our employees in a similar fashion. So these types of functionalities allow you, depending on the culture of your organization, allow you to allow access to your HR service via a Facebook or a Twitter-esque kind of look and feel and interaction with HR. We've also enabled inquiry management, so that covers general inquiries and issues, including knowledge management. So knowledge management meaning both internal facing from an HR shared services perspective, and also external facing knowledge for your employees. That also includes surveys, which we'll cover off as one of the other slides. So survey management as part of inquiry management, so that as cases are closed, you can then send surveys off to then get feedback on how your HR function and service has done as part of that case. We've also enabled workforce management, and our definition of workforce management is around change of circumstance or job data change. So what we mean by that is, if I get married and I change my last name, where do I submit that request? So that really takes that into consideration. Or if you change of address, where do you submit your latest bill as a proof and that actual request as well? And then what's the workload behind that to make sure that SAP has changed or PeopleSoft has changed and what have you. We've also enabled recruitment. So this isn't just kind of IT onboarding. This goes right up the front as part of requisition. In regards to, I need 10 new heads for a new function that I'm building. Where do I get approval for those 10 resources, which then kicks off talent management, whether that's internal or external. Then we start looking at onboarding as part of that, and obviously kind of, creation of offer letters, all the way even to vetting. So, when you do initial vetting or final vetting, that then kicks off your final onboarding as well. And whether you want to integrate that with your IT onboarding as part of that process. We've also enabled exit management. So that's voluntary and involuntary, and probably one of my least favorite topics of workshops that I've been involved in, which is death in service. So again, that's something that you can enable within the HR case management solution. The other element as well is leave and absence management. So this is around planned, unplanned leave, and also long service leave as well. And you can also, trigger this from grievance and disciplinary. So if you needed to suspend somebody, then why don't you automatically create a leave and absence management case for that disciplinary as well. So a lot of that we can tie together. And I mentioned, grievance and disciplinary, that's included as part of the framework. So kind of employee relations, being able to raise one or multiple grievances, and including one or multiple disciplinaries as well as part of that. And also finally, kind of document and records management, kind of that physical electronic management of documents going in and out of HR, including a piece of functionality that we've built, which I'll demo to you guys, which is the document creation element and the archiving of documents, whether it's via a documentum or whether you want to do that within ServiceNow as your kind of electronic document repository as well. So in regards to our offering as an Innovyze HR framework, these are the elements that we've actually enabled. So depending on which HR business processes that you guys want to actually deploy as part of your transformation or your transition, we have certain customers who may not do all these HR business processes. That's really up to you in regards to what it is you guys are trying to achieve as an HR function. So we do have certain deployments where, from an HR perspective, that middle kind of HR businesses such as workforce, recruitment, exit, leave and absence, and grievance and disciplinary, that's currently being done in Workday, in SAP, in PeopleSoft. So from our perspective, what our customers are saying is, well, from a manager self-service, we don't want to change that. However, we do see a gap from an employee self-reliance, inquiry management, and document and records. That's something that we want to we want to enable as part of our deployment. So what we can do is we can utilize the framework and just disable those 5 other functions that you may not necessarily need at this point. Now, down the line, if you do want to look at grievance and disciplinary, well, that's something that you can enable down the line. You don't necessarily have to deploy all the HR business processes. That's really up to you guys based on what you're trying to achieve. We also have certain, so this is more kind of the employee-facing element of this. We do also have some customers that are looking to, you know what, we don't want to deploy the employee-facing element first. What we may want to focus on is a lot of the back office function that we do, especially around grievance and disciplinary. So again, it really depends what you guys are trying to achieve. So that means we can disable all those other functions and just focus on grievance and disciplinary to begin with, because we know from a business impact when we deploy grievance and disciplinary, that's a smaller population within HR that will need access into that piece of functionality within the ServiceNow platform. So again, do you necessarily have to deploy all the piece of functionality? No, you don't. That really depends on what you guys are trying to achieve, and that's a discussion that we could have with your HRIT or with your HR function in regards to, what are you trying to look for in an HR case management solution. So what do you get as part of the Innovyze ESM HR framework? So you do get the application which we've created that gets installed within your ServiceNow platform, which is currently in version 1.2. So 1.2 includes all those HR business processes. We also provide you with requirements and design artifacts. Some of them you can see on the left-hand side here, to really expedite and provide that thought leadership. And really what we're trying to do here is what we've actually created gives you 70% of what you would typically expect from an HR case management solution. And I'll talk a bit about that in regards to when we go through the benefits and value add slide, which is next after this. And really what we focus on in regards to enabling those HR business processes is really configuring your HR specific needs. So we don't have to start from scratch. And really what we're focusing on is, well, what are the specific data models that your HR requirements need and have? What's the security model? So, based on your operating model that you've decided, can level 1 see secure cases if that person is an executive? So we've actually built a security matrix within ServiceNow from HR case management. And really the discussion that we will have is, well, what is your HR operating model? So who can see what cases, who can see what, who can raise what cases? So it's just, again, for us, it's just tweaking what we've already done. We don't have to start from scratch. We've also built workflows for each of those HR business processes, so we don't have to start from scratch. But what we do need to make sure is, based on your HR processes, whether that's something that if you don't have already documented, we can definitely use some of our high-level best practice HR processes to help you with that. But really, it's about configuring specific HR processes that you guys have to make sure that our workflows enable those HR processes. So again, we've built them out, and maybe what we just need to do is configure specific activities or tasks that are relevant to your HR business and HR function. And also any other specific interfaces and integrations that you may have as part of your HR ecosystem, whether that's integrating with BrassRing or ResourceLink, or all those other solutions that you may have to kind of automate some of your HR tasks as well, to really get that efficiencies that you need and that you're looking for. So kind of in summary, this is what we provide as an HR framework in regards to our offering. And really kind of the benefits and value add of our framework, as I stated before, we don't have to start from scratch. We're not building this from the ground up. It's allowing you as a potential customer of ServiceNow or as an existing ServiceNow customer to really have the quicker time to value what we've actually built. And from what we've spoken with other customers and what we've seen is that we've already built 70% of what you expect in an enterprise HR case management solution, whether you want to deploy all of those HR business processes or only specific ones. And really what we're focusing on is, well, what is that other 30% that is customer specific, what your HR business needs, and that is what we focus on configuring. So we don't have to start from scratch. We only really focus on that 30% to make sure that it is fit for purpose for your HR organization. As I mentioned before, especially as we work with that use case, we do have the expertise and experience around HR case management. This isn't just a service request form that somebody just fills in and then a workflow automates. We know We know some of the nuances around HR policies, especially around different regions. If you're looking at global implementation, we do understand that, Germany has specific, privacy laws, HR policies that are very different to Africa, for example. So again, that's something that we can bring, the kind of thought leadership that you would expect from an HR case management solution. Like we talked about as well, artifacts to be able to expedite your requirements and design workshops. So, essentially we come to the table and we don't ask what you want. We actually say, well, this is how it's built. Does this work for your environment? If so, what are the gaps? And the gaps is what we actually build as part of your 30% to make it fit for purpose. Otherwise, if we go into workshops and ask you, what you're looking for, we can be here 6 months from now still having that same requirements discussion, and we wouldn't necessarily have moved you anywhere forward. So again, that's something that we provide, that thought leadership in this space. We also have version 1.3 currently being developed. So we'll talk about some of the enhancements that we've got in that roadmap and around document creation and e-document repository. And at this point, we're the only ServiceNow partner in the market that do have such a holistic offering as well around HR case management that's redeployable across different organizations. So really, just to kind of summarize the IP, the actual framework that we provide to existing ServiceNow customers or potential new customers for the ServiceNow platform around HR case management. So like I said, we've mentioned before, you have that social HR and HR feed if you want to get into that kind of social media space and allow different ways for your employees to access HR services. We also focus on the self-reliance and that kind of end user experience in regards to providing that HR service portal. So not just from a manager self-service, which typically a lot of your other HRIS systems focus on, but it is more around employee self-reliance. So in regards to, whether you're an executive or a manager or just an employee within the organization, how do you raise and interact, raise your cases and interact with HR? We also enable knowledge management. That's both internal and external. We also have enabled survey management, so we understand for different types of cases. You may have different survey questions. So you may have different surveys for general inquiry versus workforce management. So we have configured different surveys for each of those cases. They're fairly straightforward to change. It is just a data configuration. We don't have to redevelop anything there. And if you want to change some of the questions, some of the answers, then they're easy enough to do. But it's all kept and maintained within the single solution. So from a reporting perspective, from an HR services survey perspective, then you guys can report on that as well within the platform. You obviously have case management across all those HR business processes. And underpinned for each of those cases, we have also enabled service levels, both from a response and resolution perspective. So you can start capturing, well, how quickly do we respond to general inquiry-based cases compared to grievance and disciplinary, compared to reference requests. So again, the key thing here is being able to measure that from start to finish. Now, you may actually interact with your SAPs and PeopleSoft if you have those HRIS solutions, but the key here is we're now able to measure how we deal with cases, different types of cases within our HR organization, and be able to report on those, so that we can start baselining our performance. And that's really, what we're seeing and what a lot of our customers need to be able to do, which other solutions find it difficult to provide from an HR case management perspective. You obviously do get the rich metrics and reporting functionality within the ServiceNow platform, which we'll demo as well. Because you do use the ServiceNow platform, you do get kind of out of the box, you do get the email engine, a notification engine that comes with the platform in regards to sending out different notifications. We've built out of the box notifications as part of your HR case management solution already there. So whether that's acknowledgement, whether that's group assignment or personal assignments, you automatically get the email sent out. You have the workflow engine as part of this as well. Mobility, so if you guys are looking to provide the kind of self-reliant end user experience using tablets or mobile phones, then you have the ability to do so as well. And obviously, the ServiceNow's interface framework, it allows us to integrate with other systems much easier than other solutions. Down the line, if you feel that you need to take that next level of maturity, what we've also enabled is kind of the governance around HR service management. So, if as an HR organization, we misprinted 10 payroll labels, well, how do we make sure that doesn't reoccur again? So to us, from a service management perspective, we call that as problem management. So that's kind of root cause analysis, but from an HR services perspective. If a policy changes globally and we need to amend all our HR policies for maternity leave across different regions, well, how do we actually manage that change globally? In a lot of cases, what we find is, a memo gets sent out and there's an assumption that people will make those changes in a week or two's time. Well, from a service manager perspective, we call that change management. So why don't we manage all that risk and the impact to our documents, to our policies, and make sure that we manage that through change management within the platform. So again, if you're ready to take that next level of maturity, then that's something that we have enabled as well from a governance perspective. So really, just let's kind of summarize our IP and what we provide as part of the Innovize HR framework. In regards to version 1.2, in regards to the current release, which is available now, what we've just talked about there are all included. We can, like we mentioned, we can disable some of these functions if you feel you're not quite there yet, or that's not your focus for your phase 1 deployment. Again, I suppose just keep note, a typical roadmap disclaimer as usual. But what we are intending to do as part of the upcoming release for version 1.3 is an enhancement to our document creation functionality, which I'll demo as well, and our document management, the e-document repository in regards to being able to pull documents from cases within ServiceNow, and an improved HR employee self-reliance user interface. So what I'll quickly do, I know we've only got 15 minutes left, and we do want to open this up for questioning. In the next 5 minutes, what I'll quickly do is I'll quickly just do a high-level demo of the actual framework itself within ServiceNow. I won't go too much into detail. We do have other avenues. If you guys want to do one-to-one demos, you can definitely schedule that with us. But we've obviously got other avenues such as breakfast seminars that will provide you with the details as well, if you want to go into more in-depth discussion as to what the solution does and how it works. So just bear with me for a second. Let me just switch to, the application itself. So what you see here, for attendees who have seen the out-of-the-box HR plugin in ServiceNow, as you can already see, it does not look like it's kind of miles away from what comes out of the box from a ServiceNow perspective. So we have further extended that application, and let me quickly go through some of the key functionalities over the next 5 minutes. So what you see in front of you, so I'm logged in as HR level 3. So the first thing that I can see from an HR overview perspective is there's a dashboard there, so I can see certain KPIs such as my summary count. So open cases over a month, open critical cases over a week, and I can click on those and that will list all those 85 cases. For attendees who are not very familiar with ServiceNow, if you do join our breakfast seminar, we can get into kind of the details of some of the key UI improvements that you would normally get with ServiceNow as a solution, because it's Web 2.0. It uses the latest technologies versus some of your legacy solutions. A lot of the graphs here you can actually click through. You can create your own dashboard if you're just a team leader, if you just want a view of the HR cases that are relevant to you as a department or as an area. What we've just done here is kind of a starter for 10. So, as an HR manager, as an HR services manager, you can see, well, what are my active SLAs by each area? Well, which ones have been breached. Well, which open cases are there by area? So again, these are just some of the gauges, the graphs that we've created, but there's no reason why you guys can't personalize these. One of the key things that we've included, so if you wanted to integrate this our HR framework with your IP telephony, so let's say, for example, I'm an HR agent, Reshma Patel, who is an employee of our organization, calls our HR service desk. If that integration picks up one of their telephone numbers, whether that's business phone, contact phone, and home phone, if you've got caller ID enabled, the idea behind this is this should be prompted for the HR analyst that picked up the call, so that from that user authentication, you can authenticate whether it's date of birth, whether it's next of kin, or whether you, depending on what your user authentication requirements are, you guys have a special word, or, you ask them who their line manager is, and so on and so forth. But the key functionality here is, from an HR case management perspective, you can see all their HR cases that they've currently logged with HR. So you can see that Reshma's logged 12 inquiries, 1 workforce, and also, in this sense, you have 2 grievances and 2 disciplinaries as well. Now, because I'm logged in as level 3, one of the security models that we've already enabled within the system is that I can actually see, because I'm level 3, I'm an HR business partner as a centers of excellence, I can see some of the HR grievances and the description and what those grievances are. Now, if I just quickly log in as somebody from level 1, so this might be somebody from your service desk, for example, and your operating model states that actually our level 1 should still be able to service Reshma for her inquiries, but not necessarily see the details of those grievances and disciplinary. As you can see here, I can still see that there's 2 grievances and 2 disciplinaries logged in for Reshma, but you know what? I don't see any of the details of that particular case. So again, this is something that we've already built in as part of the security model. If you from your HR requirements, if you feel that you want to allow level 1s to be able to see more details of those grievances and disciplinaries, then for us, it's just a matter of allowing them to do so, and it's a special, an easy enough change to do based on our HR security matrix that we've enabled as part of the solution itself. So these are just some of the key functionalities that you would expect from an HR case management solution that we've already built in. Let me just switch back to level 3. Some of the other key functionality that we're now starting to build as well as part of our 1.3 framework is this concept of, if you don't have a solution like Documentum, or you don't want to use SharePoint from an electronic document repository, we have created a piece of functionality which will be released in 1.3 that allows you to interact and utilize ServiceNow as your electronic document repository. So in this case, I might want to look at Ahmed's passport scans, or Mary certificates, or whatever HR employee documentation you may have. So I can just click on his folder, and I can quickly see if I have access to Ahmed, because Ahmed might be an employee, not an executive. We've also got the security that says, well, if Ahmed is an executive and I'm logging as level 1, I shouldn't be able to look at his files or certain document types in his folder. So we've enabled that as well. Or if I have thousands and thousands of people, again, this is still ongoing development that we're doing, so we'll most likely change the UI. But one of the key functionalities here is, if I just want to search for myself or for Roderick, I can just type in that employee, and that will automatically go into that employee's electronic document repository. So then I can look at all the documents that's currently stored for that person, and I'm able to pull those documents into a case, or archive them from the case into their folders. Again, all within that simple UI, and all within ServiceNow as a solution. One of the other things, so as you can see here, you've got kind of the social HR, whether it's chat or looking at kind of the HR Twitter, Facebook-esque HR feed. That's definitely something that, and again, if you're looking to do, it's already enabled there. All the other HR business processes that we were talking about, so from inquiry management, workforce, recruitment, exit and management, leave and absence, grievance, disciplinary, all of those that you would expect in an HR case management solution, it's already there. The workflows are there. The metadata is there. We didn't have to start from scratch. What we just need to do is focus on the 30% to make this really fit for purpose in regards to your HR requirements. What we found is, IT service management had ITIL as a framework. What we found from an HR perspective, HR, we don't have a similar ITIL framework within HR. So what we really needed to make sure that our solution allowed you to configure your specific requirement, which is that 30%, to make sure that it's fit for purpose. One of the final functions that I wanted to show you guys is this whole document creation aspect. So if I go into an existing reference request, so in this case, here's Andrew Forbes requested a reference request for Sultan. And if you scroll down, from a UK perspective, especially for reference requests, the kind of minimum details that we need to provide is start date, end dates, and their title. We may include additional wording if we wanted to, but really, if all the information is here, what we found where HR needed to create, if you're doing 1,000 of these each month, from a volumetrics perspective, it can become very tedious and very inefficient if you have to manually create all these reference requests or even offer letters. What you can then do is if you do a right click, you can see here you've got a create reference letter functionality. So what this does is it prompts you, well, give me a title for the document. So I'll just put Sultan Ref Letter October 2013. And if I press the export details, what it does is we allow the capability so that you can have your own company header and footer based on the document type, and that's all embedded in the system. And what it does is it pulls all the data that you already have in that case and builds that document for you already. See on the bottom left-hand corner of that screen, you've now got that Word document. If I now click on that, what that will do is that will actually show me the actual reference letter that it's created, right? So imagine doing 1,000 of these, and that's what our customer did, from a volumetrics perspective. From an IT perspective, we do a lot of password resets. This is kind of HR's equivalent of password resets. They do a lot of these on a regular basis. So we've actually made sure from a value add perspective, our solution already gives you that capability to create these letters on the fly as part of the case. Version 1.2, you still have to save these documents on your desktop and relate them manually. For version 1.3, these will automatically be attached to the case as you create these letters and documents. So that's something that we will already incorporate for version 1.3 of our framework. So again, like I said, we can go through this in more detail as part of the breakfast seminar, or if you want a one-to-one session. And really what I just want to kind of finish this off. So as we talked about, we do have the case study in regards to our experience and expertise. You can find it following this link, and I think we will show, we'll provide the PowerPoint presentation to the attendees, and also this session will be recorded as well, so you guys can see this link once again. So this will be shared with all the attendees here. We've also got a breakfast seminar, so if you want to get into the in-depth, in regards to our framework, the actual solution, deployment methodologies, whether it's agile, waterfall, that kind of stuff. Again, feel free to join us in our breakfast seminar. We'll get into more in-depth discussion with that. Or if you have any specific requirements that you guys want to discuss, then we can discuss it as part of that breakfast seminar. Likewise, if you guys want to get into a bit more one-to-one meetings or further information, feel free to reach out to Sharon Holland. Her email's included there, including her contact details. So really kind of for the final 5 minutes, I suppose we'll open up to questions. I think how this works is, if people do have questions, feel free to type it in via the chat functionality, and as they come through, we'll try and answer as much as possible over the next 5 minutes. Otherwise, as we said, feel free to join our breakfast seminar, or if you feel you want to go through a one-to-one session, then we're more than happy to do a separate session with you guys individually.
Okay, Rod, one of the questions we've got is how would this affect how I can upgrade?
Yeah, so one of the things, so the actual solution and framework itself is version independent. So whether you're still in Berlin or whether you're in Calgary, it doesn't really affect your existing instance. So if you're in Berlin and you wanna deploy our plugin, then you can do that as well. Or if you're still in Aspen, you want to deploy a plugin, you can do that as well. So we don't limit. There's no independency of that. Or even if you're in Berlin, you deployed our plugin and then you upgrade to Calgary. Again, we've not seen any issues. A lot of the stuff that we've developed, because what we had to make sure is that from a platform as a service offering, we needed to make sure that what we built is architected correctly, especially around kind of impacting other modules. There may be functionality that may not necessarily be available in previous versions, such as chat, such as live feed. I think most existing customers, the latest they will be in is in Aspen, unless you're already in Berlin, or in cases you're in Calgary, then you can use a lot of the functionalities, added functionalities that we've included. But across all those HR business processes, where we've deployed the plugin, upgrade is not an issue. You upgrade as per normal. You should do regression testing as you would normally do with all your other applications. So. So one of the other questions that we've got is, are all the modules offered as standard? Yes, they are. So all the from an HR business process perspective, in regards to inquiry management, workforce, all those other business process grievance and disciplinary, that all comes standard as part of the plugin. Whether you enable those from day one, again, that's really up to you. So, we can quickly disable those if you're not ready for them yet, and only use the ones that you think is appropriate. And you can then re-enable those as you guys see fit, as you guys progress through with your deployment.
We've had a question come in saying, is there any way of changing the look and feel of the application in terms of to personalize it to a particular organization?
Yeah, I mean, there are certain elements that you can do from a platform. Again, we probably need to get a better understanding whether that's from an end user perspective in regards to your employee self-reliance kind of UI. That's definitely something that you can do. From an HR analyst perspective, we are looking at ways to be able to simplify kind of interacting with HR cases so you don't see all the fields. There obviously, because it is a part of the platform functionality, there are certain things that we can do, there are certain things that we can't do. So we just need to better understand when we talk about look and feel, just to get a better understanding of what you mean by that.
The one final question was just, can you go into any more depth about the process and technology?
No, sure. From the process perspective, as we mentioned in regards to our the artifacts that we do provide as part of the framework, so all those HR processes, we do have level 1 to level 2 mapped out HR best practice processes based on our experience and expertise across all those HR processes. So unless you have those documented already, whether they're existing or to be processes, we come to the table already with those artifacts. So what we then do is, instead of asking you, well, what is your HR process looks like, we actually say, well, this is best practice. In regards to then, well, this is how the solution has been developed in regards to best practice. Does this work for your organization? If it does, that's brilliant. Then that means the only thing we need to focus on is your data model and security model. If there may be certain changes in your HR business process, because, for example, I'll give you one real scenario. We did a workshop for grievance and disciplinary for one customer, and as part of their disciplinary process, what they wanted to do was if there are specific disciplinary types, such as, sexual harassment, what was the type. Then they wanted to flag whether you need to automatically suspend an employee. And as you suspend an employee, that automatically triggers a leave in absence and also notifications to payroll and other parts of your organization. That's something that we would never develop as a best practice because that is very specific to your HR organization. So from a process perspective, that's something that we've captured. And from a workflow perspective, we just had to tweak. We didn't have to start from scratch. We just configured that workflow to make sure that, down the line, there are certain notifications that go out, and that suspension question does pop up as part of your form from an HR case management perspective.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for that, Rod. We'll now hand back to Ben.
Yeah, okay, guys. I think we are all at the hour, so thank you. Thank Roderick de Guzman and Sharon Holland for their presentation. Like Sharon mentioned, if you have any questions, please email her directly or call her. If you want to find out more about Innovize's HR case management, their approach, you can also visit their website. If you'd like to get more in-depth understanding of how this works and Innovize's approach, you can actually attend the breakfast seminar. We will probably distribute this presentation as well as the recording, so be advised of that. And I want to thank everyone for joining and hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye. I'll give this to John Bevington.